Hey friends, I'm 𝒂💆💂💂 and welcome back to Vanessa Wonders, where I talk about God, sobriety, culture, mysticism, justice, and what it means to actually be awake in our own lives. Today, I want to start with something that I read this morning that landed with me pretty deeply. So give me one second. And this is from Keep It Simple, December 1. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. First part of step 12. We are awake. Our spirits are alive. We are part of the world. Our addiction no longer clouds our vision. How? Step 12 answers this. The beauty of step 12 is that if we feel our spirits starting to go dead, we know how to awaken them. It's simple. Turn to the steps. After all, working the steps has awakened our spirits. The hope and serenity we feel are gifts given to us through the steps of our program. And the more we turn to the steps for help, the more life we'll feel. The steps are what feed and heal our souls. Prayer for the day. Higher power, thank you for the steps. If I start to believe it is I who keeps me sober, remind me of my life before the 12 steps. Action for the day. Today I'll read the 12 steps. I'll think of how each step helped awaken my spirit. And again, this is from Keep It Simple, Daily Meditations for 12-Step Beginnings and Renewal. How do you do it? When I read that, it pulled something in me open again. Like I forget sometimes. I forget what I came from, and I forget how asleep I used to be, and I forget how small my world felt. I forgot how God kept trying to wake me up long before I ever listened. And I forget that waking up isn't something that happened to me like back then, right? It's something I have to keep doing every day. And I think that most of us forget that. And then something like this reflection hits us and brings us back to ourselves, or maybe that's just me. So today I want to reflect out loud about what actually happens spiritually when we get sober, and not in the clinical sense or like a motivational speaker sense, but in the really lived messiness, that mystical God-filled sense. Because in my experience, sobriety has never been just about like not drinking. Like sobriety has always been a doorway or a portal, like a re-entry points to my own life. And when I first got sober, I didn't think very many beautiful things were going to happen to me. Like I just kind of thought, well, like maybe I'll stop spiraling and destroying my life. I didn't think about awakening or clarity or purpose or mysticism or justice or community or compassion or calling. Like I just kind of felt like, let me just get my life under control. And I thought that that would be the miracle. But the miracle isn't sobriety 100%. The miracle is what happened that sobriety made possible. So like for me, sobriety didn't feel like I was becoming a better version of myself. Sobriety felt like I finally was meeting myself for the first time. And it felt like somebody wiped like a lifetime of fog off of a mirror, and I finally recognized who I was looking at. And there's something unsettling about that, because as the fog lifts, everything that's been waiting for you just kind of comes rushing back, right? So all those old memories, all those wounds, all those old desires, and then my faith and my creativity and that intuition, right? And also your grief and your calling. And all the things that I had numbed out or outrun or avoided just kind of walked right back into the room and sat down with me and was like, hey, I've been here the whole time and I've been waiting for this sobriety moment. And that's honestly when the real awakening starts. So I always say that sobriety doesn't just clear your bloodstream, but it clears your life. It clears your inner world, and it clears your ability to hear your own voice and the voice of God, to be quite honest. It clears the distance between you and your own soul. And that distance is what kept me numb for like a really long time. And it's what kept me, half alive or half dead. Look at it that way. It's basically what kept me distant from God, right? And when that distance disappeared, like everything kind of collapsed in on itself in this beautiful way. And I felt, nearer and sharper and like softer at the same time. Like there is this sharpness and clarity, but like softer and compassion, for example. And like nobody warns me about the emotional tsunami that happens. We always talk about emotional sobriety, like it's a stage to get through, but like looking back, that emotional intensity wasn't something I had to survive. It was something that was healing me. And my emotions weren't malfunctioning. They were just like coming back to life. They were thawing out. And as uncomfortable as it was also the most honest I had felt in literal decades. Sometimes it felt like I had to relearn how to be a person and how to sit still and how to breathe deeply and how to listen to my own thoughts without panicking and how to let myself feel something without trying to suppress it. But in hindsight, that stage wasn't weakness. It was just a resurrection. And it's what happens when like the heart remembers that it's like alive. So sobriety made Christian mysticism make more sense to me in a way that it hadn't before. Like mysticism is all about presence and union and awareness and connection and love. But how could I do that when I was constantly dissociated and when I was numbing out and when I wasn't even alive in my own body? Sobriety didn't give me like new spiritual beliefs. It gave me access to beliefs that I had always carried, but couldn't really honestly feel. Like it made God real to me, not as an idea, but like as a presence, as a breath, as a nudge, as a warmth, as like conviction and comfort and like that pull. And Christian mysticism talks about God being in everything, in every moment, every breath, every ordinary experience. And when I became sober, ordinary moments suddenly became spiritual ones. And so I'd be sitting in silence and feeling like something shifted inside of me. And I'd be walking my dog and I'd feel connected in a way that I didn't have language for. And I felt compassion rise up for even people that I didn't really necessarily like and that really got on my nerves. And I'd feel clarity about some things and that I'd had confusion about for months. And it wasn't like this woo-woo-ness. It was just like, it felt like alignment. It felt like truth. And I felt like I'd finally tuned into this power that I hadn't been able to tap into before. Um, and that's really when like purpose started showing up again. And I don't mean this in the form of like capitalism and like money and like the job. It's not the title, it's not a mission statement, but it's more like a general direction or like a stirring. And quite honestly, I'm still figuring this out. But it's just I do know that it's like this restlessness, this holy restlessness. And it's quiet, but it's undeniable to me in the sense that like life is feels like it invites me somewhere and like there's some type of purpose for me. And I know for you too. Um, but unfortunately, the thing about this, and I think the reason why so many people don't show up for their purpose is because there is no clearly defined path. It's not like there's something saying like, here is your path. Like purpose shows up almost like as a feeling, as an intuition, and like the sense that I'm way too awake to go back to sleep now. And so I think just feeling like too conscious to be on autopilot again and too grounded and too in awe and reverent of God to allow myself to shrink again. And, previously that wasn't totally clear because this in general is not specific. It's just a given. And I think that most of us who get sober feel this way at some points, kind of like that tug or that ache, that like low grade spiritual hum that's like, more is coming, don't numb this time. But purpose isn't just personal. Sobriety made me see the world differently. So when my heart came back online, I couldn't unsee people. Like I couldn't unfeel suffering. I couldn't walk past something unjust without feeling like that knot in my stomach. And sobriety, didn't make me political, but it made me human again. And it made me pay attention. It made me care. And it made me identify with people that I basically used to ignore. And I think well, actually, I know that that's spiritual. I know that that's God. I think that compassion is a form of awakening and empathy is a form of awakening. And noticing injustice is a form of awakening. And practicing acceptance is a form of awakening. And when we're numb, everything just feels far away. But when we're awake, like everything feels close, and that closeness can be uncomfortable, but I don't think we were meant to live far away from each other. Like I think sobriety brings us back in the world in a way that justice becomes kind of like a natural response and not even like an intellectual pursuit. It just becomes like this moment of truth, basically. Mostly like this sense of knowing that like, one, I am not God, and wow, who am I to think that I am? But I'm not going to keep surviving anymore. Like I need to actually become like the image of God. And, it didn't feel like something that was egotistical. It didn't feel like something that even I wrote, but it felt like something that I received. It was like almost like I know that you're better than this type of calling, right? And I think that a lot of people in sobriety have moments like that, like moments where like your soul speaks in a voice that's not quite ours, but it's also deeply ours at the same time. And it just resonates as truth, and it can be like a little unnerving. But that moment made me realize that the point of sobriety wasn't to get my life under control. The point is to become alive in my life again, and to become whole, and to become someone that God could actually reach, and someone God could actually move, and someone that God could actually use. So one of the biggest shifts for me was realizing that my awakening wasn't random. So the timing isn't random. It wasn't that I was finally disciplined enough or finally strong enough or like I finally deserved it. I was just ready. Like my life had softened me. It hurt me, it humbled me, it prepared me. And like when the time was right, sobriety met me just like an invitation, like not even a punishment. It was just like a doorway, not a restriction. It truly, now that I see, it was just like a beginning. Not an ending. And sometimes I think about how many years I spent thinking like I'm not ready to change. Like if I got sober, my life is over. But really it wasn't about readiness at all. I was carried into sobriety in a way that still feels pretty mysterious to me. And I suspect that a lot of us feel that way. Like sobriety chose us as much as we chose it. And like awakening arrived exactly when it was supposed to, and not a moment earlier. So if I take anything from this journey, it's that sobriety isn't just about staying sober. Sobriety is about waking up over and over and over again. And it's about remembering who we were before the world, kind of beat us into this survival mode. And it's about remembering who we are becoming now that our spirit has room to breathe. And it's about staying connected to that presence, the one that keeps us grounded and humble and awake and aligned. And I don't know exactly what direction this awakening is taking me, I'll be honest, but I'm honestly okay with that. Like, that's the mystery. And I've learned that clarity often shows up as I move, and not as I sit there like over planning and overthinking it. Like, I've learned that purpose unfolds in layers and not in a single revelation. Like, I've basically learned that every time I forget or every time I drift off to sleep, I get spiritually sleepy. And like God has this way of like nudging me back and whispering, like, hey, wake up. So I just want to close by saying this. Like, I would love to hear in the comments what awakening looks like and feels like in your life right now. And not advice, not instructions, just your own reflection. What are you waking up to? And what is coming alive in you? What feels tender or new or scary or hopeful or like unfamiliar to you right now? And if conversations about God, sobriety, culture, mysticism, justice, living awake resonate with you, please feel free to subscribe and join me on more of these reflections. I'm grateful you're here, and I'm grateful that we're doing this together. And I'm grateful for every one of these little awakenings, even the uncomfortable ones, because they remind me that my life's not on autopilot anymore. So I love you. God loves you more. And I'll see you in the next one.